You know, in a world that's constantly rushing us forward, have you ever just felt incomplete? Kind of like you're being pushed to produce something before you're actually ready. Well, today we're going to explore a really profound way of thinking about growth and patience and finding meaning in it all, drawn from a pair of really thoughtful essays. So, this is our starting point. This little couplet introduces this powerful metaphor that's going to run through our entire chat today. It's the difference between something that ripens naturally, on its own schedule, and something that's taken too soon. It's such a simple image, right? But it holds a really deep lesson about how we live our lives.
So where does a lesson like this even come from? Well, it doesn't start with some grand, complex theory. It actually starts with a simple, vivid memory from childhood. Just a single moment that years and years later unlocked this profound understanding of what it means to feel whole.
The writer remembers walking through a garden. You can almost smell the soil, feel that summer light. And right there on the highest branch was one perfect apricot. When they held it, it wasn't just a fruit. They said it felt like a state of completion. The taste was just perfectly balanced. Nothing was missing, nothing was extra. Just a simple, perfect moment of wholeness.
And here's the key insight, the thing that clicked years later. The apricot didn't try to become perfect. It didn't strive or struggle at all. It simply remained right where it was meant to be, on its branch, totally aligned with everything around it. The sun, the soil, the water. Its perfection came from knowing its place, not from its own effort.
That memory of the apricot brings us right to the central problem these essays dig into, this modern tendency we all have to live what you might call a plucked life, a life of so much haste that it often leaves us feeling unfinished, no matter how much we seem to achieve. And here you can see the contrast so clearly. On one side, you've got the plucked life, always chasing external success, constantly trying to build the self through sheer force of will. And this often leads to feeling incomplete, because it basically interrupts our own natural way of becoming. But then, on the other side, you have the ripened life. Now, this isn't passive. It's about knowing your place, finding a real direction, and patiently awaiting the right time. And the result of that? A feeling of wholeness.
This brings us to the whole idea of patience. And let's be honest, we often think of patience as just waiting around, being passive. But these essays completely challenge that idea, offering a much more active and frankly powerful definition of this really misunderstood virtue.
So here it is, a crucial redefinition. True patience isn't about being idle. It's the act of remaining in your proper place, totally aligned with a deeper truth. For the fruit, that place was the branch. For a person, it's about being aligned with our core values, with our purpose, even when things get really difficult. It's an act of correct orientation.
This quote just drives the point right home. Ripening, or, true growth, doesn't come from forcing it, from trying to build the self like it's some kind of isolated project. It comes from finding a direction and then trusting yourself to it. It's about letting go of that feeling that you have to control everything and instead just learning to live in what is true.
So, if ripening is the goal, how do we navigate a world that seems practically designed to pluck us early? Well, a second core metaphor helps us understand this. Think of our lives as a journey through a storm, and we desperately, desperately need a light to guide us.
And here we see the two major forces at play in all our lives. The storm. That's the transient stuff, the constant, loud, overwhelming flow of news and events and just daily noise. It occupies our attention, and it can so easily sweep us away. The lantern, though, that represents the enduring. Those quiet, steady values like justice, compassion, honesty. This is what gives you a compass. This is what truly builds us from the inside out.
And what happens when we try to navigate that storm without a lantern? This quote says it all. The winds of the moment, the latest trend, the loudest opinion, they will take you absolutely anywhere. Without that inner light of enduring values, we just lose our direction. We become reactive, tossed about by every new thing that comes along.
So we have the storm of the transient and the lantern of the enduring. And we know we need to find a balance. So how do we actually cultivate that in our own lives? The answer, it turns out, lies in two essential, very practical acts.
This right here is the central idea. A life spent only in the transient world of constant activity keeps us occupied, but it doesn't necessarily build us. We can be incredibly busy, but still remain kind of shallow. Real growth, real ripening, comes from connecting with what endures.
So here are the two proposed actions. First, reading.
And not just for information, but reading to connect with the wisdom of the ages, the values that have stood the test of time. This is how we take care of our lantern. And second, listening. Not just hearing, but a deep, attentive openness to the world and people around us. This is how we navigate the storm without being swept away. One connects us to what endures. The other opens us to what is present.
We've explored this whole art of ripening, the danger of being plucked too soon, and the balance between the storm of daily life and the lantern of our inner values. So now, it's time to bring this reflection home.
After all of this, what are we left with? All of these beautiful metaphors and deep ideas, they aren't just abstract concepts. They're meant to be a mirror, leading us to one profound, really personal question.
And this is the question we're left with. Is the life you're living one of haste, of being clucked before you're ready, leaving you with that quiet sense of being unfinished? Or are you cultivating the patience to remain where you are, to align with your own truth, and to allow yourself the time and space to truly ripen? The answer is yours to discover.